This is the Finesse Media Podcast, Season 3.
You know what's crazy?
It's been a long day of Clubhouse.
Okay.
Have you heard about that?
I heard about Clubhouse, dude, and we're going to get all into Clubhouse. Me, Cherie, Nicole coming up with some things too. I think, man, you probably know about it because we all in the same circle. So the Clubhouse joint is real decent, and I'm excited to really jump on that because I had it before and I didn't really stay long with it, but we back. We back, y'all. I'm sorry, we just came right in talking, but we're back with another episode of Finesse Media Podcast, Season 3. It's your boy Ken Finesse Media. I'm your host, back with two great guests. For the first time, I feel like I'm being double teamed, but this is from Superpower, as you can see in the background, and it's also going to be with a lot of mixed Mave up in this joint. So they coming at me hard with all this pressure. Join the podcast for the first time. Make some noise. I want to give it up to the queen first. Fatima Talia, she's an actress, she's a writer, she's a comedian, and she's also Moesha of the Millennial. Welcome to the podcast, queen, for the first time. And joining by her side is her bro. Again, they should be twins, came out the same womb because they are super talented. But Nate Mave, Grammy-nominated producer, writer, and DJ. We're going to talk about that too because he's mixing it. Mave, the mixing. So welcome to the podcast, bros and sis and family again, for doing this tonight on this episode. How y'all been, man?
Quarantined.
In the house.
Right.
In the house. That's how we've been. We've been in the house.
I mean, they outside in Atlanta, though.
Yeah.
No, Atlanta is definitely turning up, man. So
yeah, we're not doing that in LA.
Together, and no, you're in LA, so you're down in Atlanta. So how long have you been down in Atlanta? It's probably a whole...
I just got here on Wednesday.
Okay.
We're locked down in LA. Like, there's no going nowhere. There's no being anywhere after 10 p.m.
Man, it's bad. LA is shut down. Yeah, LA is shut down. Let's take it back to Chi-Town, my people. Let our listeners know, Nate, who you are, where you're from, Grammy-nominated producer. These folks got to know who you are.
Yeah. We from the crib. We all from the crib. From Chicago.
Or should we say the South suburbs?
Right. Well, you know how it goes.
People be like, Chicago.
Yeah. So to be specific, we from Harvey.
Basically. Harvey World.
Yeah. So but what's crazy is we moved all over the place when we was younger. So we could say we from Country Club Hills.
Right.
We from Harvey. We from Hazelcrest. We from Robbins.
We out here banging all in the South suburbs in every area.
We all over the South suburbs.
All them streets.
No, shout out to Harvey, Illinois. When you say Harvey, that's right. You might as well just consider that to be Illinois. Anything that's South suburbs for sure is gonna get that coin. I don't know so much about Bolingbrook and those folks.
Yeah, right. Nobody.
You're on the West Side.
Ain't nobody claiming your baby.
But get closer to me because I want to talk to you, man. The things you've been doing on the internet and making folks laugh and being a comedian. Has she always been this funny growing up, Nate?
Oh yeah, what's crazy? So, like this is my sister. So like for me, it's like this has just been life. It's just normal, right? We always, and it's always been like when we all get back together or something and we all get together just as a family, it's always just been like crazy laughs, nonstop laughs. That's just been regular life. You know what I'm saying? So to kind of see that translated into a comedy set, it's like, this was a thing a long time ago. This is not nothing new.
I stayed in trouble.
Yeah.
I stayed in trouble. It's funny because my mom always tells me now, like, I remember growing up, she's like, you need to be a comedian. I used to be like annoyed. You just be like, whatever, But like now, I mean, this was not planned. It's so funny. I was just on Clubhouse talking to somebody about this. It was not planned. I did like improv and stuff and kind of wrote a little bit. And then I just kind of bumped into the right person that was like, you're a good storyteller. You should really look into doing open mics. And I was just like, I guess. And then once I started doing it, it was like natural to me. So I was like, this feels right. But I was like, but that's how I've been my whole life. You just tap into who you are, I guess. I really can say, baby,
And so the Moesha, the millennial, what's that about? I mean, that's super creative. So that you tapping into kind of like your old school, as you mentioned, growing up a comedian, and tying that into right now, Moesha, the millennial.
It's a weird story because I
Dear
started writing
Diary.
those from this
So
guy I
Trump
was
lost
dating
and
who I
he
couldn't
mad, or should I say
and
salty?
it all started
If
with me
salty
like
was in a
having
dictionary,
like
it'll be a
every
picture of
weekend was
his
a
orange
bad weekend
face,
with this guy I
looking
was
like,
dating.
ain't
So I
nobody
would tell my
lose.
friends,
That's fake. He not.
Dear Diary last weekend. So it started with being silly at brunch, being like, Dear Diary. He didn't answer again. So then I had braids. And when I started doing that, one of my homegirls was like, yo, that's like Moesha. And I was like, that just made me spark an idea. And I was like, I'm going to try to find this music and I'm going to turn this, what's going on with this guy, into something online. And I literally did. Some of it was true, but then it grew into like, you know, just imaginary stuff and taking my friends' stories and rewriting them and making
because it's real life.
Yeah, making them relatable.
It is real. It is real life. It is real life things. And then, so I'm gonna switch it up because now you finessing the game, and again, we bring on people that's finessing the game. So you two have been finessing it for so many years, growing up together. Now you're watching your big brother, you know, killing the game, being a producer. I want to talk to you about Stonewall. I want to go right there on Stonewall, dude. What motivated you to write that and produce, you know, that track? Because they came from a deep place. Selena Johnson, for those that don't know, the Acoustic Soul album. How did you create that?
Let me clear this up first, because I hope I ain't throwing nobody on. But I'm the younger brother.
No, yeah, he is.
Okay.
But that's a compliment for me.
No,
I'm like, that's fine.
Now, I often do think he's the oldest brother, though.
I mean, I'm the big brother. You talk the size and everything.
I feel like I'm quite immature, but I'm like, that's great.
Because what's the age? What's the age between you two?
We're 3 years apart.
3 years apart.
Okay.
Yeah. It ain't much. Yeah. But no, so, you know, the inspiration behind Stonewall, the crazy thing with that is like, kind of like with most of my placements that I have out here in the world, it's literally me in a room by myself, coming up with just really trying to get these sounds out of my head, right? Like I'll wake up with some sounds in my head, or I'll go to sleep and I'll wake up out of my sleep with these sounds that I got, and I just got to get them out, right? That's basically what Stonewall was. It was something that I just created, not even with Selena in mind. You know, it wasn't even created for her. This was just created because I had an idea of a song, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna make it. So, you know, how Stonewall came about was, you know, us just being in the studio and, you know, me just pressing play. I'm going through my list of songs. She heard that one resonated. And then from there, that's when it kind of, because what you hear is not the version.
It's not the original one that made the album, right? Exactly.
Yeah. So then once Selena got her hands on it, and we sat down, put our heads together, me, her, and Toxic, and we were trying to figure out how we were going to put the sound together. Then that's when the sound got, you know, that's when we created that sound. That's when I brought in people to play the guitar for me and brought in people to do the strings for me and stuff like that. And then it turned into a whole thing. So, yeah.
And for you and your sister Selena, you know, who is family, you guys have this lineage of, you know, talent, you know, just all throughout the family. Shout out to you know, Shine Black, you know, another talented artist. So kind of what that's been like for both of you. I don't know who want to take the first question of just realizing that, damn, our family is talented as fuck. You know what I mean? In all different facets, because we talk about Dr. Salisha, who's on the professional level, you know, as professor, but also as a brand ambassador. But how has that been for, you know, the two of you growing up and just realizing that it's just not been you two with these superpowers?
Man, it's funny you say that because I didn't even think about that. I'm like, wow, that is true. Yes, I mean, it's normal to us now. So I'm like, that's right. But I guess, well, I started with Lena in the beginning when she was first starting out with her career. I was her background dancer for a little bit. So that was
shit.
Like, you know, right. So I watched how her career developed into where it is now, where, you know, when she was doing her own makeup to now she has makeup artists. Like I saw a lot of the beginning stages and learned a lot from that to kind of know how the journey kind of goes and what you will go through. So, I mean, for me,
Charles on the corner is what you saying to me is Charles on the corner been had these moves.
I've been doing Charles on the Corner for about 4 years.
Get out.
Yeah, it's been going on since 2016. I always go back on my Instagram sometimes just to see how far I've come. Yeah. And I went all the way back and I was like, dang, you've been doing him for a minute. And it's like, people are just now catching on to it because of quarantine, really, because everybody's now online. So, but it's normal to me to answer your question. It to me, it's normal now. And I think it's very cool that we have other avenues that everybody does in the family that you can ask questions and you can reach out to. And I think it's also cool a lot of times when I'm like doing a podcast or something and someone is like, oh, that's your cousin. People definitely look at that like, dang, y'all standing on like 10 toes down. Y'all got a lot of stuff going on. And then they find out what my brother does and then my cousin. So it's cool. I think I love the fact that everybody does something different. You know, because we could have all did music. I love that everybody is doing something different. It shows a lot of versatility in our talent as family.
Yeah. Like for me, like I was young, like when Tima was out there doing the thing with with Lena in the beginning. So I was always kind of watching from afar, or for the most part, just watching my sister, right? And I was telling her this before, like I low key learned my hustle from her, you know. So like watching her, and then as I got older, kind of understanding because like here's a fun fact. I never really even knew that I wanted to do music until probably after I graduated high school. That was never even a thing for me.
Really?
Like I never even wanted to do music. I wanted to be an actor.
Yeah.
Like,
So
I was trying to be on TV.
What got you into music? What kind of motivated you?
I mean, I always like me and my little cousin always talked about it. A couple people, like a couple of my peers in my class was doing it. So I always kind of like been around it. My father did it, but like what actually got me into it was just one day I was just talking about it with my cousin. Then right after I graduated high school, I went back to visit my old broadcasting teacher. And we were just talking.
Mr. Tuffy.
Yep. And he was shout out to Mr. Tuffy. That's my homie right there. He low key, I can honestly say he's the one that actually got me started because I just went to go visit and he handed me this disc and he was like, hey, I got this software that nobody really knows what to do with it. So I'm like, all right, cool, I'll take it. And so I took it, I went home, loaded it up to my sister's computer. And it was the first version of FL Studio of Fruity Loops, which is now like the industry standard right now, technically. And people used to actually laugh at me for using FL Studio back when using MPCs and everything. Now it's like that's what you use. So I remember that. Wow. So yeah, I got that software and I literally taught myself how to do everything that I do. I ain't go to school for nothing that I do. I taught myself how to do everything. Yeah. And I was, just kind of messing around with that. And then as I got deeper into it, Lena hooked me up with Toxic.
The connections too.
The connections through Lena, even when I wasn't even ready. Because if I go back and listen, even Stonewall is another fun fact. I hate that song.
Oh, wow.
Can't stand it.
Oh, you gotta be kidding, man. What don't you like about it? I mean, what you hate about it?
I'm a perfectionist. So I'm very picky about my sound and how I want it to turn out.
And when you grow and you go back and listen to
it. If I go back and listen to Stonewall compared to what I make now, oh my God.
Good.
If I made Stonewall today, it's a whole different, it's not a different song, but sonically it's better.
Yeah.
So that's what I like when I go back and listen to my old stuff and see where I started. Sonically, I wasn't there.
It's like when an artist or when people go back and look at an old artist's painting.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, that's one of my first pieces. It's like not one of my. That's kind of like the same thing. Like most artists are like that. Like you grow and your creativity changes all the time. So when you look back, you're like, this was whack. What was I thinking? But people love it.
Yeah. But the cool thing was, Lena put me on. She heard something that was there, Toxic, picked me up. And like I said, when I got put on with Toxic, again, I wasn't sonically there as a producer, but I was still like pushing every day to be better, which is why, things worked out on that end. But yeah, so.
No, that's super dope because I was going to ask about, because when you're, moving around and it's sometimes different, like we all from Chicago, right? But we're all living in different places. I'm here in Dallas, Texas. You're in, LA, and you're in Atlanta, right? Nate?
Yeah.
You're based in Atlanta. So how has that transformation been different for, or how did you have to adjust, particularly for Tima that's being in LA where it's a competitive market and everyone wants to be talented and kind of get on by who they know and with social status as we know it from, that LA crowd. So how difficult, if any, has it been kind of making your footprint, you know, in LA?
Footprints are different than surviving. Okay. Footprints, I think what I know now was very much different than everyone else who was there. I had an agenda, and I was very, very serious about my agenda, because now I have friends that I knew when I first moved there that are not even doing what I'm doing now. Like, people drop off the map. Like, LA is like the battlefield. You have to be like, someone told me this recently, and I was like, They were like, your focus is like the mask they put on horses in the race.
Hey, talk to them about it. Come on.
You know what I'm saying? They were like, you stay focused on that finish line. You don't see anybody next to you.
Yeah.
And that's kind
the
of what I
blinders,
carry.
baby. The blinders. Keep them blinders on.
And another comic told me that recently. He was like, that's why yo ass be making it like, because he was like, you don't see nothing. And he's like, and I'm like, I had that though. Like, I have moments where I get tired in LA, trust me. And I'm always like, dang, we got to get that steam from 2014. Like, I'd be like, come on, nigga, get back to 2016. Like, you know, because it's a lot of work. Like, but I had those blinders on from the jump. And when I say that, that means like deep, like I lost relationships, friends. That's the kind of blinders you got to have where you can't hear nobody trying to distract you. And that's what I went through so far with LA. It was like I had lovers being like, I need you to be here, you're here. I had to be like, this is the goal. Friends lost, drop off the map. It's like a journey on a boat, and you be like, oh damn, we lost such and such. It's a whole ass thing. But the survival part, I think I was a hustler, man. I knew how to work at restaurants, and that's what I did. I had probably about every damn restaurant job in LA. Like, at this point, ain't nowhere for me to even work. Like, I'd have been fired from all of them. Like,
and what's the last?
It's a picture of me in every restaurant. Like, don't even know. But I went through so much with like working 2 and 3 restaurants. I again was on Clubhouse, and I was telling somebody that was like asking me how I started, and I was like, yo, I used to work 2 restaurant jobs when I first started comedy. I worked in the morning and I worked at night. I had so many jokes on receipts from my job that I would show up to open mics in the middle of shifts with my apron on and just pull out jokes and turn up and then leave and go to the next job. I was like, the hustle was real. At the same time, having on blinders, it's like you turn into, like, LA, I used to tell people like, Chicago hardcore, but LA made me a woman straight up. Like, you will know right away. Like, when my roommate, for example, she's always like, this is hard. I'm like, bro, by your 3rd or 4th year, you gonna know if you want to do this, like if you love this. Like, if you don't feel like you love this by year 3, leave. Trust me, it's bananas. Like,
and have you had those moments? Have you had those moments being out in LA where you like, yo, I'm about to leave? And
absolutely.
And so
I think I had one last week. Like, that's LA. Like, you're not only like dealing with just what you want to do with your career and how much of a journey that is. You're dealing with the people, the egos, like, it's a lot going on there, like 24/7. And there's a lot of roadblocks that look like gold. Also, I've had many moments where I've had to learn that, well, when this person says this, that really doesn't mean this. Or when, when this happens, that doesn't mean $1 million. Like, I have had to learn a lot of lessons, and I think LA is one of those places where you're going to keep learning them.
And in learning these lessons along the way, and continuing to hurdle over these little, adverse situations and battles, what is those kind of mantras that come in your mind that gets you back up and going, and that kind of reset and make you say, no, put those bags down. LA is where I'm going to stay, and that's what I'm going to do to stay here, to keep those blinders on.
Crazy enough, I feel like my younger self would have never said this, but I feel like there's a lot of people that are inspired by me now. And I don't think this is my journey anymore. I think this is not just for me. And I feel like as I've gone through this journey and reached this level, I literally feel that way now. Like, I feel like when I feel like I want to stop, I'm like, well, there's like 13 little girls that is counting on you to be whatever that is. And you have friends and families and really close people to hang out with you that are watching you and come to you when they're not feeling great. I have a lot of, people that you guys probably know from TV that will call me and look to me for advice because they see the strength within me. So I think that's my answer to that. It ain't about like getting the Gucci watch or what, the Gucci nothing. Like, I would say, in the beginning of this, it would have been about bags and big houses and cars. Now it's like about respect and giving back. Yeah, and longevity. Yeah, definitely.
And swinging it back to Nate, asking, when you're being many different things as a producer, a writer, a DJ, I want to definitely talk to you about your latest project, you know, in your DJ world. But as you're being this producer and not at first wanted to be into music, but now being, again, Grammy nominated producer, what has been your creative process? What does your creative process look like when you're constantly being different?
So lately it's been, you know, really just jumping right on an idea as I have it. Because, you know, one thing a lot of people didn't know was, like, for a long time, maybe for like, not really for 8 years, while I was, you know, freshly Grammy nominated, getting placements and stuff on TV shows and stuff like that, I was a licensed banker at JP Morgan. You know, a lot of people didn't know that. So, you know, my creative process was kind of cut in half in a lot of times, in a lot of cases, because I had to be ready for the next day and put on my suit and be this corporate guy, you know? So, so now music is what I wake up to, is what I go to sleep to, right? So, yeah, really, I mean, my creative process has always been just like whatever my idea is, I like literally right before we hopped on, I was putting together a song. You know, I had an idea and I'm like, oh, let me get this out real quick. I had 3 minutes.
Because that's what
3 minutes. I'm like, all right, let me get this out. So really it's just jumping on the idea right then and there, you know. Hey, and I ain't gonna lie, low key, I have made some of the best music I have ever made when I smoke a little bit.
Yeah.
Spark up a little bit of something.
You're definitely late to the party.
Yo,
Snoop been telling us that for years, Nate.
Man, I wasn't listening. But man, now I mean, I and you know, I don't want to, you know, say that is a big part of my process, but it's definitely you know, a helpful tool.
It's a helpful tool.
You know, so yeah, I mean that's my process, and then a lot of times, you know, what I'm starting to learn now too, because I'm a loner. I'm always about, you know, trying to knock out my ideas on my own, but you know, collaborations, man. I collaborate with a lot of people. A lot of writers, musicians, you know, bass players, piano players, you know, my artist, of course, is a writer and a producer as well. So when I collaborate with people, I started to notice that my creative blocks don't exist when I'm working with people. Or if I have a creative block, that's when I go seek those people out. And then I'm back where I need to be, you know, so.
And that's a good segue, because you just talked about collaboration and being with others, and definitely partnerships is, I believe, one of the strongest things you can do, particularly in this time, particularly for us as Black folk. So each and every week on this podcast, we definitely highlight people that's finessing the game. And they have been people that's been Black folks, and I love that. But then also shouting out our HBCUs. So that's what it's all about. But collaboration is what you did recently with Rico Baines on an indie project. So talk to us about that recently released project.
Rico Baines.
Yeah, Pretty Rico Baines.
Rico Baines.
I said Baines. Not the bang.
So man, you know what's crazy? Crazy story about him. Like, he's a former Disney kid. He's the guy that played Diddy in the Tupac movie All Eyes on Me. You know, he's for him as a singer, he's an all-around performer, right? And I almost, you know, didn't even like entertain the idea of working with him because I'm just super picky. And because the way we met was so weird, right? So I was working out of the studio here in Atlanta, and it's a real secure place. It's gated. You got to have a code to get in and everything. And, you know, one day there was this thing happening where each studio suite was playing one of their big songs that they were releasing or going to be releasing. He somehow found his way into this super secure studio and was going from suite to suite playing his music, right? Or getting the people to play their music. He got to my suite and he was like, man, can I play my song? And I'm like, nah. I'm like, I'm trying to play my song that, you know, that I'm putting out. I'm like, nah, just let me take your number and I'll call you later. So a whole month go by, I haven't called him. And the only reason why I actually went to go see him perform one day, because he invited me to come out to see him perform. And I was debating on whether I should go or not. And my wife was like, you need to go. So I went, and this dude had an incredible performance. I'm sorry about my dog in the back.
That's all good.
But now he had an incredible performance, and I was sold ever since. You know, so since then, you know, we've worked on maybe 2.
The dog, I think, is mad you didn't put him on the track.
I guess so.
The dog, like, listen, I told you I was gonna be ready at 7. Your ass left the house.
First of all, he's 14 years old.
Yeah, that's old.
It's past his bedtime. He's up there. Yeah,
Whoa. Yeah, you got an old dog.
Yeah. But yeah, no. So yeah, Pretty Rico Bands, man. He's an incredible artist. You know, we've done a lot of projects. He was in the All Eyes on Me, but not that I've seen it, but that's good.
Mm-hmm.
So the project we just put out is called Pink. It's a short EP, but it's doing some great numbers, man. We got a single called Pay For It off of that album right now. Going crazy in the club.
Okay.
Crazy
so,
in the club.
You know, right now, you know, what we're doing is we just keep in the pandemic, what I've learned is keep going.
Yeah.
Like, if everything's looking good, great. We done with that. We moving on to the next thing. We about to release a whole new slew of songs and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, we're keeping the ball rolling. We're working on new songs right now. Trying to work on some distribution situations. This is my other dog.
Hey, beautiful dog. Beautiful dog. For those who can't see, this dog is about 10,000 pounds. He is jet black. What kind of dog is that, Nate?
A badass dog.
He's a boxer.
A boxer.
He's 3. The other old dog is back in somewhere.
Okay.
He's starting too. So
Another special guest. That's what's up.
Yeah.
His superpower is if he'll bite the shit out your ass. I'm sure.
Like, I don't need this.
Hey, he big. But that's what I was going to ask, Nate, because when you talked about the pandemic and kind of that focus and just keep moving and, hey, we've been through that, particularly for a comedian, you got to stay current. I think it's one of the hardest jobs. No disrespect to anybody who does more things, but one of the things about a comedian is that you have to be current. I had Hope Flood on as the first episode, and we talked about that and her kind of creating these workshops out in LA, actually, where you are, for comics, because you just can't get on the stage and grab a mic. No. And a lot of times people at the family reunion, they go, hey, I'm funny, but getting on that mic is challenging. You got to know how to work that stage. So much respect to comedians, but particularly, and again, in this pandemic phase we're in, right? And it's not a space for you to entertain and touch people, because that's probably the biggest challenge for a lot of comedians. It's cool to be having these interviews, but touching people is one of the things that you guys doing. So what has that challenge been like for you creatively, or not being able to, touch folks and maybe just be creative? Has that been a challenge for you during this time?
In the beginning, the first 3 months was really, I was like really antsy about it, but then I found ways to like get it out by doing my social media, by doing Charles, by doing Moesha. But in LA, it's warm. So comedians found ways to get our shows on. We started doing things like drive-in shows. You had shows in the park. They brought a speaker and people wanted to get out. So we had a lot of people in park amphitheaters. The Comedy Store on Sunset started doing comedy in their window. Different concept, but I was doing comedy in the window. But it was, I was getting followers and stuff on Instagram. People be like, yo, we saw you in the window at the Comedy Store.
No, it's bad creative though. And some of that shit won't go away. Some of it they'll actually keep. That will probably just stick around. And
it was a hot show. I'm talking, it was Donnell Rollins was in the window. Cedric Entertainer came through and did the window. So I felt like I hustled during the pandemic. Like no matter, plus I was working on shooting what we did together. I was shooting my half hour. So I had to find a way to work on the material, because it was like writing it is one thing, but working it out actually live is another. So I found ways. I had on a coat and I was in the woods. We had lights on each other and we was on rooftops. And like I said, the Comedy Store, I did that quite a bit in the window. And I will say this, most of us as comics were saying, we're gonna be much stronger because of this. First of all, doing comedy in the window, you had to be a lot to get everybody to pay attention to you in a window. So I got to a point where some of my jokes, I had to beat on the window with the last words, like, that's what I'm talking about, bitch. And people, you had to be like, it was weird, but people would stop because they would hear me banging on the window, saying what I'm saying, and they would come in and then watch me.
First of all, that's got to be crazy. Just a regular person walking past.
Exactly. And I was like, that's not what I'm saying, goddamn. And they bang on, and they would be like, what? But that's
somebody who's probably like, what's going on? They're not knowing it's a comedy show. They probably like, this girl is crazy.
Taught us how to like move in a way, like even doing Zoom shows. You know, you can't hear the laughter. You just popping off jokes and you get emojis. Like I did a live show at the Laugh Factory where there was no crowd. I hosted a show at the Laugh Factory where we just did it on the live. Bro, I did a whole set with no laughter. Like it was.
No, I saw that. So I didn't even realize that was recent. So like,
yeah, they were doing that in LA.
Wow.
They just stopped it obviously because we were shut down, but all of that made us much stronger. Like now, I feel like I slowed down a little more in my comedy. I don't really like rely on the laughs as much because I didn't get any during the pandemic. And it's like, but you know, and then people had to find ways to make it work. So.
Yeah. No, definitely. You guys are finesses. You will do it. And something else you've done, we talked about you being a comedian, but being a writer too. How was it working on Laugh Out Loud Radio and Kevin Hart, being a staff writer on that project? Because the Plastic Cup Boys, they're hilarious, but I know that machine moves behind Ian, who is like one of the head engineers, Nemo, Elmo, but the people that's on that squad run that show.
I just got out of Clubhouse with Spank.
Yeah,
Spank Horton.
Yep.
Crazy. So how was that, you know?
It was hard, man. Writing rooms be real hard. I mean, people like, they be stressful. It was hard because I was the only girl. I was the only girl on this show. It was an animated show we had on there very early on LA Network. It was Billy Sorrell's Savage News. So it was like a news show, but it was a cartoon. So we had to push out, man, like maybe 6 to 10 sketches a week. And you're just popping off sketches and sketches. So it's a lot of work, a lot of writing, a lot of egos, a lot of testosterone. As a woman in the writer's room, you're always like, oh God, like they talking about each other, they throwing things at each other. It's like, you're like, this is bananas. Like, and I usually work with a lot of men. So and men in comedy are like, no offense, but they're like kids. It's like one's tripping one down the stairs. They're like, shut up. And it's like, I usually had to be the one to be like, all right, so this is what we're getting ready to do.
Like the lunchroom in high school.
Right.
But it was fun as hell. It was a really cool experience. And I was stoked because like I said, that was right in the beginning when Kevin started LOL Network. So he got a lot of like social media influencers and people from All Def Digital were coming over. And I met a lot of cool people. So that led to other jobs after that and other collaborations. So it was dope.
No, that's dope. And Nate is moving, getting to this DJ, man. Working with Selena every Monday, Music Monday. Y'all mixing it up.
Music Monday.
The 10 and 10 DJ with Selena Johnson. So how did that opportunity? It's obvious or to be assumed much, but Selena just don't mess with everybody. You know, she know you talented.
I mean,
how does this whole collaboration happen, man? Because I'm loving it. You got the artist coming on for an interview, and then you got the 10 and 10.
Well, you know, you got the pandemic, man. I gotta say, man, you know, I hate to say that it's been tough. It was tough for a lot of people. You know, it's been scary for everybody, but I feel like it's also created a lot of things, right? So the whole 10 and 10 idea was really just me trying to come up with something to just not be stagnant. You know what I mean? Like,
and talk to our listeners we know, but for our listeners who don't know, let our listeners know what the 10 and 10 is.
Yeah. So the 10 and 10 is a part of Selena Johnson's Music Monday, where she interviews, you know, a lot of mostly music artists. So whoever, like last week we had Shanice. You know, the song was everybody knows the song "I Love Your Smile," and we did Avant. You know, David Banner. It's a lot of crazy, you know, incredible artists that come on there. So what I do for 10 and 10 is I celebrate those artists by picking 5 of their top songs or their favorite songs and 5 of Selena's songs, and I mix them together. So for 10 minutes, we just turn it up, man. We having a good time. The comments be going crazy. And, you know, we started it on Instagram. Now we switched over to Facebook at 7 p.m. prime time. And man, you know, it's
live?
Yeah, live. Yeah, we go live every Monday. This Monday coming up, we got Eric Roberson.
A dope writer again.
Yeah.
Artist.
And you know what's cool about it, man, is for me, I'm a student of the music, man. So for me, I get to learn about so many songs that I didn't even know were out there. Like some of the artists that I never even heard of. Like, to be honest with you, and people might be like, want to throw tomatoes at me for this, but I didn't know who Eric Roberson was.
Yeah,
I didn't know who he was. There's a couple people, that I didn't know who they were.
Find something to throw at the screen.
Right.
Yeah, I was like,
I didn't know, so for me, and again, what's crazy again, like I said, there's a lot of stuff that people will be like, how you a producer and you don't know this? You got to remember, like in the beginning, music wasn't my thing. I've always been a student. I've always listened to music different, but I was never really into the pop culture thing of music, which is probably why my music sounds a little different, I guess. But, but yeah, I didn't know who he was. So it's always cool to kind of learn new music. We got Dionne Warwick coming up soon.
Nice.
And of course everybody know who that is. But
my Rosetta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated. I'll do a shameless plug real quick.
Yeah. I'm something like a youngin', so me going back looking at Dionne Warwick's music, wow. I'm like, yo, she was a fucking beast.
Yes.
And again, I know Dionne Warwick as Psychic Friends.
When you said that, I died. I was like, I forgot all about that.
You know what I'm saying? So
Psychic Friends was so out of control.
So just going back at that is really cool. Just kind of learning people's catalog and just being a part of the 10 and 10, where they're still there while I'm spinning. And when we're done, they like thanking me, like, man, you did an incredible job. I mean, that feels good, man. So I enjoy doing that. Even though we're not face to face.
That's like touching the people.
That's what I'm saying. Like, even though we're not face to face, we still right there. Like, like the other week, Avant was like, man, that was incredible. Shanice, like, man, that was incredible. Her husband Flex hopped on over like, yo, that was
Flex
great.
Was there?
Yeah,
Flex do comedy, son.
Yeah, shout out to my brother.
Yeah. So those things are cool. Those are cool experiences. So for me, it was the idea. It was my idea. I brought it to Selena, and she said, "Man, that would be a great addition." And that to me, that was a lesson learned, because in this business, you have to bring something to the table for it to work most of the time.
Yeah. We gotta wake people up.
You gotta wake people up. A lot of times you can't just say, hey, can I do this? Or can you do this for me? Nah, walk in with something.
Yeah.
I think that's like, when you back to your question earlier, that is something that dope that I think we all get to learn in this family by watching how, since everyone does do this, we see how everybody takes the initiative.
Yep.
No one waits on anyone to give them anything. And I think we learn that by being a family. So that's a luxury to have, to watch, like, for example, Leisha put out her own show, own production company. Lena's doing the same thing. Sean Black's putting out his album. Like, everyone's learning from each other or watching each other.
And another cool thing too, a lot of people might assume like, all right, you got Selena and the family doing big things. All things flow through Selena. Selena has always been a person you can go to and say, hey, can you point me in this direction? Or, hey, can you give me some advice? However, there's also this thing too, where like, well, we saw her do it. We can go get it on our own too.
Oh yeah.
Definitely.
So a lot of the things that you see happen in our family is just because we've seen it happen. So we're like, all right, cool.
I can get it too.
We can get it too. So that's always really that's been really cool. Like I always say, like our generation, like our generation in my family, you can ask any one of us that's like the children of of my aunts, their kids and everything. You can ask any of us. None of us are doing the regular shit.
No. Nobody just like have a regular life.
Nobody's doing regular shit. Everybody's even if you're working even if you are working a job, you're working towards something else. You're also
that's like
got
what do they
something
call it?
else you're doing.
Careers.
So I always thought that was really cool. Like our generation is way different. Like we look at
more independently.
Yeah, more independent.
Yeah. There's definitely a lot of creatives in this space now. You with so much as we sit here in this pandemic. I mean, I said it before. If you set at now what is what, maybe 10 months in this pandemic and you come out the same, what the fuck was you doing?
Pretty
Because
much
I mean, it's very short and simple for me, because I get it. It's a transition for a lot of people, losing jobs, being underemployed, things of that nature. But what Fatima said, it kind of showed people who were the proactive ones and who weren't. You know, those that were just kind of waiting on for something and was just never thinking that this would be a moment where the rug would be pulled from underneath them.
It hit LA the hardest, I feel like, because that is the mecca of like where people are the fakest.
For sure.
So when this happened, everybody had to take their mask off, and then it was weird.
So you really ain't about shit.
You know,
right. You really do need an agent, a publicist, Instagram, and all these.
It wasn't you finding that out. It was people finding out themselves or coming to the terms of that. And it was like, you know, like
some people got fired in this. They're like, you know what? I realized I didn't even need you.
Yeah. Listen.
That's not funny for people who actually lost jobs, but that's it. Yeah. Some people pulled up their pants though, to the reverse. Some people really did just pull up their pants and bootstraps, I guess, and finesse the game. And you guys are continuing to do that together individually and supporting each other. I asked Nate, I say, wait, y'all don't have no drama behind the scenes, do you? I want to get y'all on here. Y'all not. Because that's something.
And I'm like, nah, not really. They're like, what's wrong with you guys? I'm like, I think we got it all out in our younger age. I'm like, I don't know.
Because you guys are both talented. So you know, it's to be expected, like who gets the most attention and who's the most successful. I mean, because really, I don't know how Brenda Thompson does it. Shout out to Selena Mom, because she got 3 dynamic daughters that's just really killing. Well, yeah, that's killing it. Celeste, Celicia, and Selena. And they're all in different fields, but they still find a way to support each other, which I find is super dope, and collaborate when they can on each other's projects. So that's important. And love my soror. Shout out to Zeta Phi Beta once again. But thinking about collaborations and what's coming up next for you all, what can we expect? I know we talked about being creative, man. And Fatima, I heard you say a little bit about your special. So what is coming up? Can we expect a special from you?
It was super exciting to do it because at the top of, at the end of 2019, this was a goal that I wanted to do. But then it was so randomly this pandemic happened, and I was like, I'm never gonna be able to pull it off. And it was weird. Like, I think he came to visit me for like one day, and he's like, no, we can do it. And we sat at this coffee shop for hours and like literally mapped out the whole plan. Like, didn't order food. Like, we just stopped being hungry. Like, we just kept looking at the menu, being like, and then we called it, like, we literally set up a plan and like set dates and got a venue. And I feel like literally we didn't even have that much time. Like, because I think you visited me.
We did it. We talked about it in August and shot it in October.
But I wanted to do it. I had started working on the material in 2019, and we was really working on it the whole year of early 2020. And then the pandemic hit, and then we decided we were going to go ahead and do it together and collab. And then that's when I was telling you I had to find ways to work on the material so I can keep going. It was like I had stopped for a while because there was no place to work it out. So that's when I started pushing myself as, again, like, you got to make a way. So I started asking around, and people were like, yeah, there's underground mics if you're trying to risk it. And it's like, just put your mask, you know? So I was out there masked up, gloves carrying on with Lysol wipes, and was working. Like, I mean, there's a club that it's funny because everyone knows about this club now, but there's a club in LA that is underground as hell, and it stays open to 2 in the morning. And it was so many comedians in there trying to work on their special or trying to get ready for the road. You will find a way if you want to wait. So I worked on it for like 3 months, and it was hard, man. It was hard because it was like, you know, comedy is failure. Okay, people don't know that. You gotta bomb a whole lot of times before that material becomes anything.
What it is, yeah.
So going through that in the middle of the pandemic and knowing I was on a short period of time, I got a plan. I was tripping. Like it was a lot going on, but we worked it out. And honestly, it was beautiful. I don't know if it was just my time, but a lot of comedians came out for my support.
That's dope.
People was coming out with their mask and listening to my set for me and giving me notes, because it was like there was no real crowd. So I also had to do this material in front of other comics who don't pay attention, who be smoking weed and who be drunk. So if it wasn't for, you know, comedians that cared about what I was doing,
appreciate your artistry,
they was coming and sitting, and I'm talking about good comedians like Kenan Baker came in, Gerard Carmichael, Teddy Ray, Billy Sorrells. It was big comics that was busy that was dropping in on me and was like, y'all change this, woo, 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 move this, you know. I got lucky, but that's what we have coming out together. I'm super excited. And my cousin Tony is a director, so it's an all-around family affair.
It was incredible, man, how it came together. Like
yeah,
you
man.
know, and again, I gotta say, you know, the pandemic is a gift and a curse. It depends on how you look at it and how you use the circumstances around you. You know, because,
that's right.
You know, like I said, I worked a job for 8 years. People don't know this. I quit my job in January of 2020.
Yes.
Before. 2 weeks later, the world stopped. I quit my job because I had, you know, well, I have a lot of things lined up, but all that stuff got pushed back, you know. So during this time, I'm like, I literally left my job. I'm like, oh shit, okay.
What to do, right?
What am I doing? You know, so at this point, I'm like, all right, I know I'm good at anything I do. Not to toot my own horn, but I'm fucking great at everything I do.
Yes, come on, self-love.
No, you gotta do it.
When I really do it. So I'm like,
what's y'all signs? Let's real quick ask that question. Our listeners is probably like, I'm going with what they sign is. What's y'all sign? Because y'all not twins.
Leo, well, he's a Leo. I'm an Aquarius.
Yeah, I'm
perfect. Leo. Okay, that's a Leo. Okay, that's a Leo. Leo will not be beat in any competition.
Yeah, they do say these.
Are you August?
August 1st.
Okay, see, that's the August thing too. August 26th. So I digress, brother. We good. You good?
Yeah.
They don't know. They don't know.
Nah. But yeah, no. So you know, it was cool. Like I said, you know, I was like, man, it would be really cool to partner up with my sister and do a whole special. Like it'd be really cool for us to pull it off. You know, so you know, I was like, all right, cool. Well, I'll take care of all of the background stuff. Just get your set together. You know, whoever you know that we need to talk to, I'll talk to them. Let's get this together. You get your set together. She did her part.
It came together.
I pulled in my cousin Tony. I'm like, hey, you the director? He was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm like, you the director.
right.
You know, so you know, like I said, we all had a million jobs.
Yeah.
But we pulled it off. You know, the night of, and man, and you can ask my wife, like, I was like, I couldn't even exhale until I got back to the hotel room after we cleaned up everything from the place we was at. You know, for 2 months straight, I
slept for the first time.
Right, it was the whole thing, you know.
The night after the show, I think I died in my sleep. Like, but I slept for the first time, dude. Clubhouse, like, look at us. It should be his clubhouse photo. Like,
some happen, but I don't know. Who cares about technology? Because what I want to know is, when is this special coming out? Because I appreciate, you know, all the insight on it, all the hard work, and I know you putting it all together. So when can we expect this project?
We're hoping for 2021, late February. We're gonna go there because there's no actual date.
Okay.
Yeah, it's no actual.
But it will
yet,
be, you know, the beginning of 2021, hopefully.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good collaboration. Again, something I didn't know about, you know, your brother being, you know, all hands on deck, again, making sure that you own the product, because that's really important.
Man, my management company, right? So I'm super proud of that. I signed to Brillstein, shout out to them, man, because they were one of the biggest management companies for comedy thus far. Like, I share a manager with James Davis.
Wow.
We got it's comedy everywhere. I couldn't believe that I signed to them, but they were so impressed. Like, when I was telling them who I was doing my special with, you know, first of all, they were impressed that I was like, whatever, I'm doing it on my own. I'm not even asking y'all for help. They came at me like, yo, you need help? Like, what's going on? And I was like, yo, it's me and my brother and my cousin. We'll hit y'all up if we need y'all, you know? And that, I think that made them be like, well, shit, like, what they got going on? Because they sent me, and I hadn't even been with them like less than a week. They sent me an assistant. She was amazing. We have a great relationship with her now. But they were really looking out. And I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that they were seeing, like, we was all working hard. We was all working hard. Like,
we didn't go to them asking for help.
Anything, yeah.
You know, we just did it, and then, you know, I think that because they saw that we wasn't asking nobody for nothing. You know, we were getting cameras on our own, getting chairs on our own, finding the location on our own.
And then when they got to the venue, you see what we had put together in the pandemic. you know, even to this day, Hannah, who's amazing, she helped us out through this whole thing. She's always like, you guys are amazing. Like, it was crazy. Like, my agents came and they were like, yo, the venue was dope. Like, we had no idea this is what y'all had going on. Like, because it was like, I was just filling them in. And then when they got there, they was like, yo, they got mad cameras. They got a DJ. They got, the crowd is here. You know, it's a look. It's a vibe. Like,
in the pandemic. So, you know what I mean? Folks looking at in the pandemic.
Also, I had to have, for the venue, thank you very much to the person who let me use their house. Samson was dope. He's an old friend of mine. But everyone had to test. So it wasn't like people could slide through. The homies can come and support.
Yeah, it wasn't no, hey, I'm outside. Nah. We'll test it.
Right. It was that hard to get people to want to test to come out. So it was, for me, it taught me a lot on how to promote and how to sell tickets. That was a learning point for me. And it also was for me to see, because a lot of times you doubt yourself and you don't think you have the fans. Like, a lot of my Instagram fans actually tested and came through. And I was just like, wow, this is like, that's kind of dope. So it was hard though, because we definitely was worried. Like, everybody got a test.
Yeah.
Some of them got to be sick. We ain't gonna be able to, you know.
I mean, my first thought when I was telling her, like, my first thought was like, all right, man, that's gonna deter people away.
Yeah.
Like, you know, people are not gonna want to get tested, you know, just to come for a 30-minute or less, you know, show. But man, we were overbooked.
Overbooked.
So
that's dope.
I mean, you had your few people like, oh, I didn't get tested in time, you know. But, you know, for the most part, I was proud. People really came through and supported.
And that shows the support. I mean, that is a sign of, you know, the real man support. That folks say, listen, I'm gonna take a test and I'm gonna come see you. You can't get folks to buy a ticket, but they, you know, take a test, you know, really to come and support. So that's definitely a sign of, you know, the true support that you have back in LA. But down in Atlanta,
that's something I learned from that, and I'm gonna really try to take that and make that much bigger, because I was surprised. I was definitely like nervous on like who was gonna be there and if people was gonna come at all, you know, and let alone they came and tested. I was like, what? You know,
I got my paper.
I was like, you know, you can work harder. Stop doubting yourself, kid. You know, so yeah.
I got my paper. Them folks are supporting, and that's huge, because support it comes from all areas, and you expect it to come like you from your brother. That's super dope to have that immediate support, but that's not always the case. So to have your brother right and your thorn on your side in the best way, and then also having, you know, support of friends being out in LA. That's a lot.
I think our clique of support and how we put this on, I feel like it motivated my friends to want to be like I had comedians that was there that was like, yo, I want to stay and like help. Like one of like my host was like, yo, I want to stay. I want to get the crowd ramped up. People were inspired by what we did. Like after we finished what we did, I had like 3 or 4 other friends being like, yo, I'm getting ready to shoot my special. You just made me feel like I could make this happen. Like I was like making backyards popular again. Like backyards was hot that week. Everybody was shooting, but people were really inspired by that. And I think we brought a lot of love to the set, because like I said, I had comedians that was a part of the show that was like jumping behind the camera with them and helping, making sure everything looked right. So
I tell you, everybody had a million jobs.
Yeah.
Hey, look, I was jumping behind cameras. I was, you know, trying to make sure that I was the sound man, I was the DJ, I was the EP. I know I'm missing something, but we had a lot of jobs.
You was the cleanup support. You probably was the caterer. Did you run and get food? I mean,
No, it felt great to do it with your family, and
that's
I think
dope. Absolutely,
make that show everybody that it's time to link up, and it's time to put our heads together and figure out how we gonna make moves in the middle of this, because this, in a nutshell, this is life now. Whether we want to accept it and go back to what we think we know, this is life now. So I think, you know, the pandemic helped all of us be like, let's do it. Let's just collab together. And now he's doing this with Lena. He did this with me. Tony's in the mix. You know, everybody. I think everybody's doing that now.
You know, and with all that, that's a good segue, because that's rolling right with Nate, the 10 and 10. You know, doing these different things with, you know, Rico. What's next? Any other collaborations? Any projects that you're working on that's not solidified yet that you can talk about?
You know, so of course, you know, me and Pretty Rico Bands, we are working on some new music. I don't know exactly when we're gonna start releasing the stuff. We kind of fine tuning some things, but you know, of course, be on the lookout for that. The current album, Pink, you know, that's streaming everywhere. You can go check that out. But right now, you know, on the producer side of things, what I'm trying to do more is like kind of go back to what I was saying, the whole collaborative. I'm trying to do a lot more collaborations than I have been doing. You know, so I'm always putting together sessions with writers and other producers and stuff like that. So, you know, I'm always encouraging people to come in and just have a whole vibe session where we just create music. You know, even if it's not specifically for somebody or just whatever we feel, and we just make music because, you know, with the connections that I've made over the years and the connections of the people that I'm working with, you know, we could shop those songs out, and that might be the next Usher song, and that might be the next Chris Brown song. So, you know, right now I'm just, as much as I can do in the pandemic, is really go in these studios and work and push and try to push and just keep going. As far as for the DJ thing, you know, 10 and 10, we ain't going nowhere. Our goal for that is to turn that into a actual a podcast on a larger network. So our goal is to do that. Me and Lena do have some things in the works. I don't know if I'm at liberty to talk about those things yet, but that stuff is coming up. And yeah, man, you know, when the world opens back up, man, my goal is to get out here and get some of these festivals, man, as a DJ. Yeah. You know, that was my goal. I mean, I met a lot of people, you know, that had those things coming up, but, you know, as the world stopped, I had to adjust, you know, but there, you know, I got stuff in the pipeline. So I'm just trying to keep my blinders on too, you know.
Keep your blinders on. That's what I mean. Keep those blinders on. And each and every week, as I close, man, again, thank you, the dynamic duo, the superpowers. 1 year, Nate and his wife dressed like superpowers. He got some superpowers still. And his sister, of course, Fatima Talia. Thank you so much, Queen, for joining the podcast. But each and every week on the podcast, I ask my finesses, that's you guys, who's finessing the game for you? Who's that person that you say, damn, or brand that's finessing the game for you?
Ooh, that's such a good one. I mean, mine has a forever and always. I am the biggest Dave Chappelle fan. And I've been a fan of his for like a really long time, but I watch him like crazy. I think he's really making a finesse right now because, for one, what he just pulled. I mean, that's a lot of power for a Black man to say, look, I'm not going to do until you give me my money. And he talking about what's actually true, what a lot of comedians go through and a lot of comedians don't say in the fear of losing things. You know, so I respect him for being a realist at the level of where he's at and giving that back to us because you don't always get that in this game. So that's finessing at its best to me. I mean, you can't never say, look, listen, you're going to either give me the money or I'm going to just tell all my fans to not watch the show. And then everybody just don't watch the show. Like, I want that kind of like, yeah.
And Netflix immediately taking it off their platform.
Listen, that's
that part. That part.
And that is something that I keep hearing on this whole Clubhouse app. Relationships. If he didn't have that relationship with Netflix the way he had it, they wouldn't have took that down.
Right.
It's relationships. You gotta have it.
All right. Maeve, who is it, Maeve?
So
who's finessing the game?
Who's finessing the game, man? I'm gonna go with D Nice.
Yeah.
D Nice, man.
I this year.
I've always been familiar with D Nice as, you know, as D Nice, right? I never knew he was a DJ until my name drop right now. A good friend of mine is a guy named Hassan Smith. He's John Legend's manager. He was, you know, he and I were having a conversation. He told me when I was you know, just kind of, you know, confiding in him as a mentee. And I was talking to him about my DJ stuff that I was trying to do. And he was like, "Man, you should look at D Nice." So I looked the dude up and I'm like, "Oh, I know who this guy is." I just never knew he was DJing.
Right? Yeah.
Never knew he was DJing. And you know, so to see where he is from when I started paying attention to him to where he is now. Again, he's always been D Nice. He's always been a huge person, right? But now he is the D Nice.
Yes.
You know, and the pandemic is something that, again, terrible for a lot of people. You know, a lot of people have been out here hurting, but he finessed it.
Yeah.
You know, I remember watching him literally playing music from his laptop. Playing music from his laptop. He had maybe thousands of people watching, you know. Then the next week he's playing music from his laptop again. Or the next day he's playing music from his laptop again.
Every day.
He's like, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and set up my DJ stuff. He set up his DJ stuff, and that was the night that he had 200,000 people on. And I was literally on there the night when I kept seeing the numbers creeping up. And I'm just sitting here in my office and I'm watching it happen as it happened. Next day he on CNN, all over the news. He did it again. He had, you know, even more followers. And I'm like, man, again, this he's already been huge, but now he's a household name.
Yeah.
Because
was that
all
during
he
the
did,
pandemic?
Yeah.
I mean, and you know, and what I love is all he did was play music for people.
Yeah.
It sounds. I mean, obviously being a DJ.
You see how the pandemic became a blessing to certain people?
It absolutely did. No, it absolutely
so,
is.
so that's why I say,
man,
if anybody finesse 2020, you know,
some people were in the right position, and some people really some people really went hard as soon as the pandemic hit, and he was one of them.
Yeah, because when your back's against the wall, you know, especially for our folks, you know, we turn lemonade into, you know, peach cobbler dessert.
Okay.
So, hey,
lemons turn into peaches.
Hey, look. Dave Chappelle said it the best. Like, if anybody gonna survive something like what's going on right now, it's us, it's black people. Like, so hey, tell these white folks to come get their nigga lessons, because
right.
Because if anybody gonna survive this hard shit, it's us.
It's us.
So
yeah.
No, definitely Dave Chappelle, and D Nice. Two incredible geniuses who relentlessly put their talent, you know, on the line, really, because D Nice every day was going live, spinning records, taking criticism, inspire a lot of other DJs to do it. But then also, Maeve is waving his hand. But then also, really, Dave Chappelle once again putting his career on the line and saying, "Hey, I usually, you know, or someone like me wouldn't say this, but getting on stage and saying that and saying, hey, Viacom, you got to pay me." So I appreciate that. Virgoism, y'all shout out y'all signs. Shout out to the Virgos out there. What's up, Lena? So Virgos, you know, is definitely finessing the game. And I think that you two together with this project that's set to come out will be a treat for a lot of people, because you'll see the blends of both of your talents. Even though she's the one on the stage, Nate, your talent's about to shine through this project. So I can't wait to see it. And then for all the things that you're doing, Nate, continue to do it. Let folks know how they can keep up with y'all, because they're probably new and never heard of y'all before, and they're going to be late to the party. So give them an invitation to your page. Let them know how they can keep up with you.
You can follow me on Instagram at MXXMVN. That's Mix Maven. And really from Instagram, you can find everything. Tap on the little link in my bio that sends you to my link tree. You know, from there, you can find my website. You know, when I go live on Twitch, you can find that as well. And of course, every Monday, go to Selena Johnson Official on Facebook at 7 p.m. to catch Music Monday, where she has incredible artists. And I think for the rest of the year, we got a few people left, and then we might go dark for a little while and then pick back up at the beginning of the year. But, you know, we got a few more episodes left, where at the end, of course, I do my 10 and 10. And you don't want to miss that, man. It's a lot of fun. And, you know, we get a lot of people coming through showing love in the comments. The emojis be popping. So, yeah, Mix Maven. Follow me on Instagram. That's where you can find me.
That's
all of my handles are the same. You can find me at FATIMAHTALIAH. That's Fatima Talia. It should pop up real quick. I'm always in the Wonder Woman costume or some weird photo, so you'll know that it's me. But I'm always got something going on. You can catch me on any of those social media sites, for Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Clubhouse, because I'm in there, baby, all day. And yeah, keep up with what I have going on. I'm out here just auditioning a lot and keep pushing and creating. So thank you for having me, dude. This was fun.
It was fun.
Most definitely, man. Two finesses that's finessing the game, the dynamic duo, Mix Maven, Fatima Talia. Thank you guys so much for joining the podcast. Keep finessing the game. If it's too easy, don't take it. You out there in LA, you out there in Georgia, holding it down, man. And you've been listening to another episode of Finesse Media Podcast. I'm your host, Ken Finesse Media, and I'll see you next week with something brand new. See you.
This has been another edition of the Finesse Media Podcast. Join us again next week for the latest news from HBCUs. Special guest